Okay, and we are live for session 9 of our Rose of Westhaven campaign. When last we left our heroes, they were in Porthcrawl, having discovered something potentially unsettling lurking in the limestone cliffs below the small coastal town. They had also had a meeting with Lord Drago Harper, who wished for them to go to some standing stones in Dertmoor, an area of moorland to the east. They've yet to do that. They've been engaged on other affairs. However, a small missive was sent to the Lord Harper by one of our heroes. So, without further ado, I'll get them to introduce themselves. Dennis.
Yes, I'm Dennis. I'm playing Sasha of Riverhead, a young red-headed girl who tried to masquerade as an orphan, but I'm guessing the latest activities and actions they've been through, that guise is starting to fall apart. So she's taken upon herself to be the acting captain of the Lock Adventuring Company.
Indeed, thank you very much. And we now turn to a Conan-esque figure, none other than our pagan priest of Dagon.
Right, so I'm Giannis P, because there's two of us here. And I'm playing Odran Molag. He is a big-ass barbarian dude, a priest of one of the old ones, Dagon in this instance. He's not the sharpest spoon around, but he makes do with Dagon's help.
And last but by no means least for this session, since unfortunately we don't have Marco with us, we turn to William of Riverhead.
Hello, I'm the other Johannes. I'm Johannes E, and I'm playing William of Riverhead, a small boy who introduces himself as the brother of Sasha of Riverhead, and looks like a stable boy, and acts as the scout of the group, and recently got a cursed armor.
Okay, thank you very much. So without further ado, I will bring up the map of Porthcrawl, which is where we finished the previous session. I've placed all of your icons around the Siren's Whisper, along with the most notable NPCs there, just so we know where everyone is. And obviously we still have Peter Birdwell in his house to the south, no doubt recovering from the drinking session that he had with Odran Molag. So, it's over to you guys. It's a nice sunny day, although there's always the ever-present sort of gloom fog hanging over the landscape. Although it appears fairly light today, you can smell the salt smells and the brine of the sea drifting in, and there's also the faint smell of fish from Smelly Alley to the west of you. You can hear the sound of people beginning their trading, getting carts out, etc., shouting prices to each other, the normal sounds, the seagulls, etc., that you would expect to hear in Porthcrawl. So, over to you guys.
Did we already send the letter?
The letter has been sent, yeah.
Along with the completely forgot her name, Salazar.
But we have no response yet?
No.
You have not received a response yet from Lord Harper.
It was not a letter to get a response from, really. But Salazar and Dani also left, right?
Indeed, and I'll remove their tokens.
Okay.
So, should we just move on?
Yes.
Doing the quest?
As
we'll do the,
as
do
you're
the
having
quest,
this discussion,
as
you're sat in the Siren's Whisper. It's pretty empty at the moment since it's fairly early in the day. Most people are off about doing their business. There's only really Brock and his wife Poppy who are sort of getting things ready for the evening at the only tavern in Porthcrawl. They're not really paying you any attention, to be honest. They're just going about their business. Poppy's like polishing the tables down and the bars. Brock occasionally like walks out the back and you can hear him grunting as he's moving barrels of ale, etc. around. He doesn't really say much, he's ever the surly type, but you're pretty much left alone to your own devices.
So what again should we do for the Harper family?
Travel to Dartmoor. See some stones. Go back. Tell him what we saw.
This sounds stupid.
Probably.
Well, let's go then. Do we have anything we need?
No, we should have food, right?
I'm going to pray to Dagon before we go. So I'd probably just get a tankard of like rainwater from outside and pour it over my head, and I cast Cure Light Wounds on myself because I got hit in the basement of Zalazar's tower.
Okay, no problem. Make your roll to see how many hit points you get back.
The minimum, but it's enough.
Okay, so you pour this rainwater over yourself, getting a few odd looks from Poppy as you do so. But as you chant under your breath to Dagon, you do feel your vitality start to return to you, and you feel the wounds of your previous exertions in the ruins of Salazar's tower slowly start to leave your body. You feel much better.
Yep, so I start prepping for our trip to Dertmoor with just a giant smile on my face.
We got some additional horses, right?
Yep.
Indeed, you have all three of you been given a horse to ride on.
And I assume we still have the 2 horses from last and the cart.
You do indeed.
Should we take them with us, just in case?
Of course.
Okay. I will just put most of my stuff, which I don't need in case of an emergency, on the horses.
Sasha will load her stuff up in the cart, the tent, all our rations and all that.
That's absolutely fine. Whilst you're doing that, Barden helps you like move all of your stuff around. He says to you, if you like, Miss Sasha, I could drive the horses on the carts if you're all going to be taking your own horses. And he points at the horses that you were given.
It's smart of you. Well, that's very effective of you.
Oh well, it's the least I can do, and I have driven the cart before, so
good. Then you shall be our cart driver.
He smiles and says, "Well, at least taking the cart will save you all having to like carry all of your supplies with you and stuff like that." But I've never really been to Dertmoor myself, but from what I've heard of it, the footing can be the ground can be pretty treacherous and pretty dangerous underfoot there.
Do the horses care about that?
Barden looks at you and he says, from what I've heard, it's very difficult to find a path through places like that. The ground can look solid one moment and then be boggy and treacherous underfoot the next. There's fairly few people who know regular safe paths through.
It's marshland.
What about?
Maybe if we have someone who's light at foot with a long stick who could go in advance and kind of poke it into the ground and find a safe passage. He smiles at William. I mean, that would be a good
William
use
just
of a long
sighs.
stick.
I would prefer if we had some kind of guide through it. It would make this thing much faster and smoother.
Barden says, "Well, the only people I know of that regularly go out there are the gloom buggers who go out there to capture the gloom bugs that tend to breed around the standing water."
I just smile at Sasha. Maybe you should take our new friend with us.
She looks at him. Well, if you know where he is.
He did say where he wanted to go, right?
He implied that he tends to like stay on the outskirts of Porthcroll. He doesn't really go into town very often.
Do you think he's gone out again?
Well, it's certainly been some time since you said goodbye to him.
Well, we bought all his stuff, so maybe he has to use the money we gave him. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I guess we can ask some of the guards if they've seen him, and if he's nearby, we can go get him.
Why not? And would try to look for him.
While he's doing that, she will finish getting the cart ready.
Okay, no problem. So the rest of you are getting you're getting the cart ready. Sasha, with the help of Barden. William, you've gone out to look for Jasper. Odrin, what are you doing while all this is going on?
So our stuff is ready. I guess someone needs to look after it while you guys do what you do. So I'm probably hanging around the inn because I presume that's where we are going to take off, and I'm chatting up the innkeep.
Okay, no problem. So we'll deal with that in a few moments. So I'm going to cut to William now. William, you're sort of exploring the town, looking for Jasper, the Gloombugger. Is there any particular method you're using to try and locate him?
Just asking around.
Okay.
Asking the people if they saw him and follow the lead. That's it.
Okay, you ask around a bit. There are a few people who say that they saw him. He was buying supplies, just general like travel stuff, and then they say that they saw him sort of heading out to the outskirts of the town. A couple of people say that he comes into town fairly regularly, but he doesn't tend to stay very long.
I try the other parts of Porthcroll too. Maybe some people who live a bit more outside saw him.
Okay, so you're wandering around Porthcroll. Eventually, you do come across someone who says that they saw him leave town heading to the east. I think he lives in like a small hamlet somewhere to the east of Porthcroll. They say, oh well, he's got his supplies. He was probably heading back home.
Do you know exactly where his home is? Could you describe it for me?
The person you're talking to says, well, yes, if you travel east for a day or so, you should see it. There's not many hamlets about these parts.
Thank you. And I would move back to the inn.
Okay, no problem. So whilst you've been wandering around doing that, we're going to cut back momentarily to Odrin, who's in the inn. And you said you were talking to the innkeeper, is that correct, Odrin?
Yeah.
Okay, so Brock has been sort of gruffly hauling these barrels of ale into the bar from his sort of like little courtyard out back, although it's really just a patch of dirt, to be perfectly honest. And he's hauling them in and out. How do you sort of make conversation with him? Bear in mind, he's not the most talkative of people.
Yeah, and I guess I just proposed to him at the outset that I'm just going to help. Because I can carry 2 barrels while he carries 1, so...
Okay, so you help him, and it effectively halves the time it takes him to get his barrels in from the courtyard. After it's finished, he puts down the final barrel. He pops a cork out the top of it, pours some of it into a couple of wooden flagons. He doesn't really say anything, he just sort of grunts and slides one of these flagons across the bar top to you. Then he lifts his own to his lips, paws it back, tilting his head back. You see foam running down his face. Then he slaps it back on the bar and just grunts, "Much obliged."
Yeah, I nod at him. I get the strong silent type, so I just raise my flagon in toast to him, and I say "Relie fatang," and I down that thing.
He sort of looks at you a bit confused for a moment, and then he goes, "Yeah, up your arse," and he drinks his as well. After you both had a few more drinks, he sort of leans close to you and he says, "Here, where's that thin fella who's always with you? Yeah, the one with the ears."
Oh, one of the old folk.
Yeah, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, he's a mysterious type. I guess they all are, really, when it comes down to it.
He leans forward so his face is like quite close to you, and his voice lowers into as near to a whisper as the gruff man gets, and he goes, Don't think I haven't noticed the looks he's been giving my wife."
I don't understand.
He says, "Well, all I'm saying is that me and the missus, well, we're married in the eyes of God. It's a holy union. We don't take kindly to people butting in where they're not welcome round these parts, if you get my drift."
I do. And he totally doesn't. But I know it all the same. It's been a little hard for him recently. What with all the royalists around, they don't really appreciate the old folk. So he's keeping a low profile for the minute.
Well, it's not like it's been easy on any of us.
Well, I presume so, yeah. But especially for the old folk and those who follow the old ways. I say as I fiddle with one of my 6 fish pendants around my neck.
He says, "Well, that says maybe." He says, "I haven't been finding it particularly easy. But you don't see me going around making eyes at other people's wives, do you?"
Well, you have beer to stock. So I presume you don't have the time.
He takes another swig of his beer and then says, "Well, that's not the point. It's just not right."
And I think if he's a sharp man, and this is probably the point where he starts to figure out that Audrey doesn't have the same social context for this stuff. Because I keep missing his points entirely.
He does seem to be getting the idea that you're not cottoning on to what he's saying. So after a while, he ceases to sort of like belabor the point, and he gruffly thanks you again for your help, and he carries on about his business. It's about at this time that I'm assuming William returns back to the bar, having found his information.
Exactly. I would try to search for Sasha.
Okay, yeah, you find Sasha and Barden. They've pretty much got all of your stuff loaded onto the cart. Barden's just like checking over the bridles on the horses, etc., and he's getting himself set ready to drive it. Sasha's with him. You can see Audrey is inside as well, talking to Brock, the innkeeper.
I would try to talk to Sasha, if possible.
Yeah, certainly possible. Go ahead.
I probably found him, but the problem is he's not here anymore. He's gone home, and it seems like his home is one day to the east from here.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure it's by foot, and we have horses, so we may get there faster. And if we have a guide, it would make the part much easier. So I would suggest we just go there first.
Well, a day to the east. Would that bring us near the old Elven Temple again? or beyond that?
The old Elven Temple is 2 days to the east walking, so you'd effectively be about sort of halfway to the temple.
Okay, but it's that direction, right?
It's generally in that sort of direction, yeah.
Just a technical question, because we can't go on the map right to the east because it's Hexus. Would the house of him be on the upper or down? Yeah, okay. Yeah. We have to go there anyway, so...
Okay, well, if it's on the way, we might as well check in and see secures the tent to the cart. And well, we're about ready here. So could you get our odd fellow from the inn and
Sure.
say we'll be off?
Yeah, I would walk in and try to ask if Audryn is ready.
Yeah, he's just like wasting time at the bar, downing ale.
We are ready. You can come.
Splendid. To Dertmoor then.
We have to take a visit to Jasper first, but it shouldn't be a long way off track.
No. All roads lead us right where we should go. I know sagely.
Splendid.
Not on the boat though.
Technical question. There is no skill for riding, right?
No, there isn't.
So you just assume we are all able to ride a horse.
That's correct, yeah.
So can I sneak while riding a horse?
Can you what, sorry?
Can I sneak or scout while riding a horse?
You
could out, but how would you sneak?
You could attempt to sneak while you're on a horse, but you'd be at some serious penalties.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Just asking.
Tries to get us up on the prettiest of the horses. So we'll leave, if there's like a big heavy horse, we'll leave that to Ogren.
Well, these horses were chosen for you guys, so there is one that's like considerably, almost like a Shire horse, you know, like one of these like massive horses meant for pulling heavy loads, which you're guessing was probably picked out, given the fact that Odrin's massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll try to get a smaller horse, maybe something which is a bit faster.
Yep, that's absolutely fine. So are you guys saddling up and heading out?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
We'll go to the village of Jasper. The village of the Jaspers.
Okay, so can I ask, who's effectively leading your group? Who's sort of like the pathfinder? Who's like leading the way?
I guess that will be William.
Yeah, I'm checking for potential threats on the way, yeah.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Can you please roll me a d6, please, William?
Sure. That's 3.
Okay, that is absolutely fine. You travel for about half a day on the back of your horses, and following the directions, you do indeed notice the ground starts to get a little marshier as you go further east, a little more sort of damp and sodden underfoot. However, it's just starting to get sort of later on in the day. It's starting to get a little bit dark. The gloom fog, this ever-present green mist that drifts around the land, is starting to get a little bit thicker when you spot in the distance what appears to be a small, single, ramshackle wooden hut.
I would wait for the others to come to me, and then I would try to ask Sasha if she wants to negotiate the terms with Jasper.
Yeah, sure, if that's his house.
There isn't much of a choice here, so I hope so. Maybe you should get ready in case it's not. And there may be traps here from some hunters or something, so take care.
Yeah, but he hunts gloombugs, so I think I'll be safe with those traps. She rides up to the hut.
Yeah, I would just stay near her.
If there's a clear path, she will be follow that.
Okay. Although the ground's slightly marshy underfoot, it's not so bad as to prove a trouble to your movement at the moment. As you get nearer to this small wooden hut, you can see there's like a wooden decking out the front of it, and you can see sat in a wooden rocking chair out the front is the withered form of Jasper. He's wearing similar waterproofed clothing to what you saw previously, and a white hat sort of made out of cloth. He's sat back in his rocking chair with his feet up on the sort of railing in front of him. You can see he appears to be looking through a couple of Hessian sacks, perhaps checking over the supplies that he bought recently at Porthcrawl. Occasionally you see him take something out, like a tin canteen. He looks it over, puts it down beside him, or puts it back in the bag. He doesn't appear to have noticed you guys at the moment. Sorry, say again. I didn't catch any of that, Dennis. Your sound broke up.
Yeah.
Difficult moment.
Ta-da!
How's that for people?
Hello.
Better.
Yeah, it seems like the server that I was using appears to be having some problems at the minute, so I've just switched to the Central Europe one.
Huh.
Good. Glad we found a workaround.
Indeed. Okay, so
So I said, she rise up 20 yards, get off the horse, lift her tricorn hat, and says, "Hello again, old man."
you see Jasper start a little as you approach. Like I say, he's obviously not seen you, and then as he peers at you through the dimming light and he recognises you, he says, what can I do for you, miss?
We are on our way to Dartmoor to investigate something for the Lord of Portcrawl, and we would like to hire you as a guide.
He leans back in his chair and says, well, I wouldn't know anything about lords and such like, but well, you want to be careful if you go into Dertmoor. I mean, it's a treacherous place, that.
But that's something you will be familiar with, the ground and traveling through marshland and all that.
Well, I've hunted gloombugs down there a few times. Not recent, mind, but yeah, I know my way around fairly well.
Okay. Well, we are not accustomed to travel in such terrain, so maybe you would be interested in earning a few silvers as our guide.
How many silvers are we talking about? He says, scratching his forehead.
He takes the pouch with the 50 silvers he got from the Lord and throws over to him.
He peers into the pouch and you see his eyes widen as he sees the 50 silver shillings inside it, and he says, well, yeah, that'll certainly do it. Then you see he walks over, you see him start climbing up onto the cart next to Barden, and he's like, well, I'm not walking all the way there, you've still got a fair old ways to go till we get to Dertmoor. Move over, young fella, move over.
He grins at him and leads the horse out again and gets up on it and smiles to William.
Sure, I would just let him sit on the horse.
No, he's on the cart, right?
Oh, on a cart. Yeah,
That's correct,
sure.
yeah.
That's much easier.
Okay, he takes the reins off at Barden and then says, right, well, if you'll all follow me, I'll show you the way.
Go ahead.
And he turns the cart in a southerly direction and he jerks the reins and the horses begin to move off, and you start heading southwards.
When we are alone, I would try to talk to Sasha.
That's fine. You'll certainly have opportunity, so go ahead.
How much does the Lord give us for this quest?
I think it was 150.
So we just gave away a third of our prize for reward?
Well, a third of it, but yeah.
Okay. Maybe worth it.
I don't know. Just money.
True. I still don't get what we are supposed to do there. Just look at stones and go back?
I think he saw something there that might be related to his ailing health. And he wants us to look at it. And he wants us to look at through the lens of your spyglass. So I'm thinking there's clearly something magical about it, right?
Maybe he has his own bill?
She rolls her eyes. Yeah, maybe he has his own bill.
That's it.
Okay, no problems. While you're travelling, Odrin, is there anything in particular you want to do?
Not really. Odrin is looking forward to getting to what he thinks is a sacred site at the Standing Stones. So he's not really. He's focused on the arrival more than the journey.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. As you travel, it's going to take you about a day to get to Dertmoor. So I'm going to ask each of you to cross off one of your rations.
Hang on. Johannes, you got all the rations? No, they're here. I'll just cross off for all of us.
Yeah. As you got something from the Lord, and
Yeah, we have 33. I'll just cross off. How many are we? 5 or 4?
You won't have to provide any rations for Jasper. He's got like his own on him, but you will have to provide for the three of you and Barden. And obviously you'll have to feed your horses as well.
yeah.
Do they need rations?
They'll certainly need some food. Yeah, there's not really much sort of grazing around in this marshland for them to.
Did we get? I thought we got everything we needed from the Lord, so I suppose we got something for the horses too.
Yeah,
That's cool.
you would have received ample food for the horses. That's not a problem.
Okay.
Okay, so as it's getting late into the evening on the second day, darkness is starting to fall. You can see the moon hanging in the sky. It's currently about half full. You can see the sort of crescent of the moon. It starts getting darker. The gloom fog is quite thick around these marshy regions. This thick, low-lying, green-tinted viridian mist that hangs low over the ground, these stagnant pools. Occasionally you see the flicker of gloom bugs moving around in the darkness, starting to light up as the light of the sun starts to sink below the horizon. You see Jasper, and he says, "Well, we're just getting to the borders of it now. We should probably make camp here where the ground's solid, and then press on tomorrow when we've got light. Even with my knowledge of this place, I wouldn't like to be wandering around in the dark. There's hobs, lanterns, and all sorts of outs can lead a fellow astray off the path."
So, what do you suggest?
Certainly. Let's camp here then.
Okay.
She will stop her horse, and I assume Barden will stop the cart.
Yeah, well, Jasper pulls up the cart because he's got the reins at the minute.
Okay.
He hands them back to Barden. He gets down. You see him. He starts going around looking to scrap up enough wood to make a small fire with. He says, "Oh, you got to be careful to keep the chill away, especially in places like this." He says, "Oh, I know the chill's done for more than one person who spent the night out in the moors." And after a few minutes, he's got enough wood together. He starts making a small fire, gets out flint and tinder, starts lighting it. And after a few moments, he takes out of his backpack what appears to be a small metal kettle. He pours some water out of a water skin into it and sets it on the fire. As you're all sort of settling in and sort of getting around the fire, which has now started to shed a pleasing warmth, Jasper looks at you all and he says, "Well, I know it's not any of my business, because obviously you're paying me to guide you into the region or whatever, but what brings you to a horrible place like Dertmoor for?" He says, "Well, I know why I come here. I come here for the gloom bugs. Well, they love these little pools around here, but well, you forgive me, you don't seem like the sort to be out hunting gloom bugs."
It's a holy quest.
Yeah, holy quest? What in this godforsaken patch of nothingness? Is, oh, you won't find anything holy out here.
Well, I think it is only your God that has forsaken this place. And he looks around and nods to the nearby trees and a rock. There's plenty of old ones here that never left.
He says, "Oh wow," he says, "old ones." As it says, "Well, I suppose this place is what they used to call in the old tales. They used to call a thin place, if you get my meaning."
I nod. Yes. I can feel it in the air. It will rain tomorrow. It will be glorious.
Wow, shouldn't surprise me. The weather's always terrible around here.
Glorious. I mean, that's his size. While she's poking, trying to get the mud out from her boots.
I will pull out my spyglass and try looking around just to test it.
I think we've done enough camping for a while after this one.
Jasper says, "Oh, I don't know what you mean." He says, "I love camping out a bit under the open stars. Can't beat it."
I suppose it's better than sleeping in a forsaken hole in the ground where the inhabitants are trying to eat you.
Wow, I dare say it is. Okay, William, as you take your spyglass out and you're looking around, it appears to be working absolutely fine. As you're sort of looking around, there's still a little bit of light at this point, so you can see for a fair distance. As you sort of look over in an easterly direction, you can just about make out beyond a small rise what appears to be a circle of standing stones, like a henge. And as you sort of focus your lens in, you can see these like 8 upright stones in a circle.
Interesting. I would try to hand the spyglass to Audrin and point at the side. He seems to be pretty interested in these things.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, not a problem. You take the spyglass, and after like a bit of instruction from William about how to work it, you turn in the direction that he's pointing, and you can indeed see these 8 upright stones in a rough circle just beyond a small range of shallow hills.
Do you know what these are for?
Oh yes, there's plenty of them. And John, since we're using this particular map that we're using right now, would I be from the Olden Whale, or where would the barbarians and the elves be?
Yeah, you would be from the Olden Whale, yeah.
So there's there's many of these in the Olden Whale. They are, I can't tell from this distance, but they are temples or gates to the other side.
The other side? So she looks up. What?
Which other side?
Yeah.
It's complicated. It's philosophy.
Oh.
Sorry, go ahead.
I look a bit confused and try to think about if I know from my past if I ever used or know someone who has used these things.
Okay, you don't know specifically about stone circles. However, what Jasper said about this being like a thin place, you know, William, that there are certain places in the world where the boundaries between dimensions, if you want to use that term, are thinner, and it makes it easier for certain creatures to cross between them. So you know that if someone was attempting to summon a creature from elsewhere, they might use a place like this because it would make it easier for them to do so.
Do I know that Sasha can summon creatures?
Yes.
I would just look at her and try to see if she reacts in any way to the news that this is a sin place. And
she has a scroll case out and some paper and writing something with it on it with a pen and ink.
we'll try to get a look at it, at what you are writing.
She's writing a journey. So and so date we traveled to so-and-so met Jasper. He's still an annoying old man. Will is still going on about stuff like that.
Okay.
What? She looks up. Look at him.
Do you intend to use the stones? I would just whisper to her.
No. She looks at him with a look of horror in her eyes. No. No. Remember last? No.
Yeah.
No.
I'm just thought about this maybe... forget it.
Well, while we're here anyway, says Jasper, we should probably set up watches and then the rest of us can all get a bit of sleep. You'll need your strength in the morning.
Sure. William looks strangely melancholic.
Okay, let's have Barton take the first watch and William to take the last watch then. Is that cool with you?
Sure.
And Ogren, can you take a watch without philosophizing?
I guess.
Well, I don't mind taking a watch after the lad, says Jasper.
Okay, well I guess that's settled then. We don't need
Just because I'm not sure why the Lord said it, I would just give my spyglass to whoever has watch. They should just hand it to the next guy every time.
No problem at all.
Could be useful, maybe.
Okay, so do we only have 3 people taking watches? We've currently got Borden, Jasper, and then William. Is anyone else taking a watch?
I can take one, sure.
Okay, that should be enough. I mean, we're not gonna get 8 hours of sleep anyway out here, right?
No. Okay, so I'm going to ask Audron, can you please roll me a d4?
One.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So, you guys all go off to sleep. Barden's taking the first watch. You're all woken up, so like a few hours into the evening, by Jasper with a slightly panicked voice shouting, You lot, wake up! The lad's gone!
Are we all awake or just Audron?
No, Jasper's just literally been like shouting you all to wake up, so you can all have woken up if you wish.
Okay, so I should get that. What, where did he go?
Jasper goes, I don't know, I've just woke up myself. I was expecting him to wake me up for my watch, but I woke up, I needed to go and relieve myself, and when I looked around to tell him he could knock off his watch early because I was awake, I couldn't find him anywhere.
See, look, so is the fire still burning, John?
The fire has burned down a little bit, but it is still sort of smouldering away.
Is it enough for her to light a torch?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, she'll light a torch and go around in a circle around the camp and call out, Barden?
I would try to ask Jasper if he knows how to track. Maybe he can see the footprints of.
You can see Jasper's already sort of like looking around at the ground, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm a passable tracker. I'm just looking around at the moment." And okay, William, can I ask you to roll me a d6?
Sure. A 2.
Okay, after looking around for a few minutes, Jasper shouts, "Over here, I think I found his footprints. Luckily, with the ground being so wet here, there's a decent set of tracks." He says, Look, you can see his footprints there. They're just heading off into the distance.
Okay, Sassy quickly goes over to him and with the torch and a pistol in the other hand. Okay, well, let's go. Let's go then.
Yeah, I would use my crossbow and make him ready.
Right, okay, you all set off following Jasper, who's following these footprints. When after you've been travelling for a while, like I said, the fog is really, really thick now. You can hear this splashing up ahead of you, and you hear a voice which you recognise as Barden's go, "Help! Somebody help me! Help me!"
Okay. Sasha takes off and runs towards him.
Okay, no problem. You break out of the pack. You can hear Jasper behind you going, "No, wait, it's not safe, don't..." But you just bolt up ahead. I'm going to ask you, can you please make me a bushcraft roll?
Me?
Yes.
Can I do that without having the skill?
Yeah,
You always have a 1 in it.
You have it, but it sucks.
Oh, I rolled a 5. I'm like amazing.
Okay, so Sasha, you go bolting ahead of the group, running towards the sound of Barden's voice. And as you sort of burst through the fog, you can see Barden in front of you. He appears to be up to his waist in what looks like this sort of boggy quagmire of mud and water, which is almost seems to be slowly sucking him down. You're about to sort of run over and try and help him when, as you put your foot down on what seems that you think is solid ground, you splash down into this thick puddle of muck that was covered with a small layer of moss, and you likewise find yourself stuck in this thick, sucking, cloying mud.
Okay, she lets out a scream as that happens.
Okay, so the rest of you
I
are
would
following up a
just
bit more
stop
cautiously.
immediately.
You all hear
And try
Sasha
to
going,
face the situation.
Oh, Barden, I'll help you. Splash.
How near can I go to her until I would sink in?
You think you could probably get within about 10 foot. Beyond that, you're not sure.
Good thing I have a pole with just that length.
Indeed.
I would just pull out my pole and try to hand it to her so I can pull her out.
Okay, not a problem. You see Sasha.
How far is Sasha? I mean, how much is she submerged?
You're pretty much sort of up to your midriff in this mud. It basically looks as though you've just like fallen face first into this pool, and you managed to like pull your head up out of it, but you're sinking quite rapidly. You can feel this mud like sucking your legs and pulling you down into this bog. You can see up ahead that Barden, who's about sort of 20 feet ahead of you, just like the very top of his head, and like his hand is poking up out of the pool that he's fallen into. And
Okay, she'll grab the pole and hold it. Hang on. Throw me a rope.
Okay. I pull out my rope and put it on the end of my 10-foot pole and hand it to her.
that's fine, not a problem.
Okay, she'll make a little lasso with the. I'm gonna assume she doused the torch when she fell, so she's gonna take the wooden remains of the torch and use kind of like the point where you tie the rope into, and she'll try to throw that towards Barden.
Okay, make me a missile-based attack roll. The difficulty is only 10. This is just to see whether sort of struggling as you are to keep yourself afloat, even with the aid of the pole, you can also throw a rope and get it near enough to Barden.
Yeah.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. It lands right sort of like just by the side of him, and you see his arm that's sticking out of the pool. He grabs this bit of wood that's at the end of the rope and clutches it to him.
Okay. She'll tie as much as the rope she can around her own arm, securing it, and use the pole to see if she can get into a solid ground herself.
Yeah, I'll try to pull her out.
Okay, it's a little bit of a struggle, but with the aid of the pole and the rope, eventually you are able to pull both Sasha and eventually Barden out of the pools, and the two of them, Sasha and Barden, sort of lie on their backs, panting for breath on solid ground once again.
What happened?
Borden sort of panting and sort of covered pretty much waist to toe in mud. He's like, oh, I don't know. I was keeping watch, and then this light of some kind sort of floated in front of my face, and the next thing I knew, I was in that pool and I was being pulled underwater, and all I could do was shout out for help. Oh, thank God you heard me.
Yeah.
I looked distrusting at him, but then I would just walk away.
Tasha just lies on her back, happy that she didn't drown.
Jasper
John,
says,
can we assume she lost the pistol she was running with too?
Yeah, that's fine. Jasper says, well, didn't I warn you? I told you there were Hobbs lanterns and stuff out there leading people astray.
Yeah, you did. You did.
So when William cooled himself down a bit, he would just suggest that if we saw such light again, we should just not look at it.
Well, I think that'd be a good idea, says Jasper.
If he's right. I just mumbled that.
Well, Tasha's gonna give Barton a hug. Well, I'm glad you're okay.
He smiles at you and says, thank you, miss. I'm glad myself, to be honest. I thought I was done for. And
and then he gives him a slap with her hand. Don't do that again.
He holds his chin and says, I didn't do it on purpose, miss. I don't know what happened. Like I say, I was just keeping watch.
Yeah, she helps him up, and they go back to the camp. She throws the muddy rope down next to William.
Okay.
He sits down around the fire. Well, I guess it's good you had that stick.
I'll just smile and say nothing.
Okay, so you all head back to the camp, and the rest of your evening's sleep is blissfully uninterrupted. Is there anything else you guys wish to discuss while you're in the camp before you bed down for the evening?
Yes, don't follow any will-o-wisps.
That's generally a good advice.
Maybe the rest of the guard should be too, so we can keep an eye on each other.
Maybe you should just have two persons making and taking each guard, just until we know what happened.
As you're all settling down, you see Jasper heads over to young Borden, and you see him reach into his pocket. He takes out a small wooden cross on a bit of string. He passes it over to Borden and he says, there you go, young fella, keep that on you. That'll keep you safe from any lanterns that are out and about. Borden's like, thank you, and he sort of puts it around his neck.
So just looks over to Akron to see if he noticed it.
I don't know if he does. I was probably like hanging back while all this happened, like picking some plants and scraping some moss, and like basically harvesting random stuff from the nearby area.
Okay, that's fine. So the rest of you settle down. And
Jasper, on holy symbols, did you notice the rather unique appendages they wear in a port crawl?
He says, "Oh, do you mean those little fish things?"
Yeah, Yeah, she nods.
He says, "Well, yeah, of course I've seen them." He says, "But well, it's a fishing town, isn't it? Well, it doesn't surprise me. They want to keep like icons of fish and stuff about. Doesn't do me any harm." So,
I guess not. Well, Sassa's gonna spend the night being extremely miserable. Like the swamp water has made her clothes absolutely unbearable to wear. She's gonna take her pistols out in the morning and clean them, but right now she's just gonna sit and skulk until she falls asleep.
okay, no problem at all. So you settle down for the evening. As I say, the rest of your evening is blissfully uninterrupted. You wake up in the morning, the sun is shining over the horizon. It's far easier to see these pools of stagnant water now that the sunlight is out. Although, as you're all waking up, Jasper warns you all to still be careful. He says that they can still be pretty treacherous underfoot and to follow where he steps. He leads you through Dertmoor, which, as I say, is just this stagnant expanse of pools and scrub-like vegetation. As you start moving further in, it's getting more and more difficult for the horses. You see Jasper looks back at you and says, "I'm not sure how much further we're going to be able to take these beasts, to be honest with you." And he says, "That cart, well, with all the weight that's in it."
If we leave it here, wouldn't it be attacked by wild animals?
Well, he says possibly we can try and press on if you want, but all I'm telling you is it's not going to be easier. I've known people lose beasts in these moors. Like I said, they're treacherous.
Yeah, okay. We can make a camp here and leave the cart and the horses then.
Okay, right you are. So you will set up a camp to where you're planning to leave the horses and the cart, etc. Obviously, if you want to take equipment with you, make sure that you've got noted down what you're carrying with you, because stuff that's in the cart will no longer be available to you whilst you're in the moors.
The thing is, how should we mark that? Because I currently have everything my character possesses on a character sheet and I can't just erase everything.
Just a mental note, I guess, will be fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just what?
A mental note.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, she's gonna. How far do you think there is now? Like less than a day?
He says, well, I don't think it should be more than a couple of hours walking.
Okay, I guess we can leave the food stuff then. We'll have no use of that. And the tent, obvious. Guess we should take the water.
Yeah, we'll take most of my stuff, aside from the rations and the wine and stuff. But most of my tools and my weapons.
While they do that, she will take off her highwayman coat and put it on the cart and be really annoyed. Try to find a clean shirt and take that on, and then she'll take on the armor now. Put on the armor, the pikeman armor.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
I always have my armor on.
Does it actually rain, John, today?
It's not started pouring it down yet, but it has started to drizzle, and the rain does seem to slowly be getting heavier.
Okay.
Are you happy now?
What? Yes. Of course. Nothing like a good rain.
The pistols don't work that well in rain.
Huh. Well, luckily we have other things at hand. Besides, you can flip it around and whack someone in the head with it.
That's true.
Okay,
No,
so
I'm actually starting to regret we did this instead of going into the dungeon. At least it would be dry there, and she says as she put on her coat. Yeah.
you can see Jasper's tying his waterproof hat around his head. He's sort of tying the flaps at the side of the hat under his chin. The rain has started to get quite heavy, and he's like, well, if we're going to do it, we best get moving, he says, shouting to be heard above the rain.
Yeah, let's go. She puts up, take on her one backpack, leaves the rest, and trots off after him.
Yeah, we would just follow.
Okay, no problems. You all
Enjoying the times I don't have to scout.
You all head off following Jasper. He takes you on a slightly roundabout route, skirting around a number of these stagnant pools. As you're going, he stops and he points out a few of them, and he says, you wouldn't believe how treacherous the mud can be under the surface here. He says, if you've got no one around to help you, you'll get sucked down, and that'll be the last anyone ever sees of you. Then he sort of looks back at you, Sasha, wearing all your clean clothes, having got rid of the muddy ones from the previous evening, and he says, well, maybe you would believe me, to be honest, after last night, but he says, look, there we are, you see those hills there? Just over the other side of that, that's what you're after, I think.
Okay, she looks out. Okay.
You can see a short range of gently rolling hills in front of you. Jasper says, well, one thing will be good anyway. Once you get up onto the slightly higher ground on these hills, you can see clearer outside of the fog, and the ground tends to be a little bit more stable.
Okay, well, let's get this over with. You still have the spyglass, Will?
Sure. I took it back when I take my last watch.
Indeed.
Okay.
And as you all start walking up this hill, on the other side of it, you can see this circle of standing stones, no more than about 20 minutes walk away from you. One thing does strike you as odd, anyone who's looked at it through the spyglass, though. As you look down the other side of the hill, you can see these black standing stones. And as you look at them, you can quite clearly see there are only 7 of them.
Okay, I would just point it out and give Sasha the spyglass for once, because she's the expert, maybe? Not sure. Who's the expert on this one?
So were you looking at them through the spyglass then, William?
Yeah, sure.
In which case you would have seen that there are 8 stones there.
But the last time I looked, there were only 7?
No, the last time you looked through the spyglass, there were 8. You look through the spyglass now, you can see there are still 8. However, anyone who is not looking through the spyglass will see there are 7.
So there's basically one that's invisible to the naked eye.
That would certainly appear to be the case.
Okay, I just point it out to the others and hand the spyglass around.
Okay, well, she takes it and looks. That's odd.
We should make a note of this. Maybe that's the thing the Lord wants to know.
Is it distinct in any way? The extra one?
No, it just looks identical to the other stones. However, it's quite clear as you all take turns looking through the spyglass that when you look through the spyglass there are 8 of them there, but when you look through the naked eye there are only 7 of them.
And it's a hinge, right?
That's correct.
Is there a gap in the hinge? Like, can you sort of figure out where the extra one is by comparing?
Indeed you can. There does appear to be a gap where if you look through the lens there is a stone standing, but with the naked eye there is nothing, just a small depression in the ground where a stone might once have been.
She looks over to Ogren. Do you think the 8th one is on the other side?
It could very well be. We must be careful here.
Do you think if we can see it, we can touch it?
We shall have to try.
The thing is, if we can see it through the spyglass, then it can't be far away from where we are, so maybe we will shift away to the other side if we go too close.
That's a good point. I guess the one who touched it should be tied up with a rope. So maybe we can, if you can see him on the other side. Notice she used him. We can pull him back.
This sounds like a good plan.
I would volunteer.
Really?
Yes.
Nonsense, you are but a boy.
So you want the honor?
But that means he will be easier to pull back if we need to.
That is true. Well, I suppose there comes a day when a boy has to become a man, so this could be your day.
I always thought I'd become a man if I killed someone.
It's only a part of it. There are other requirements.
So I got a checklist or something?
I don't know what that is.
Things I have to do before I become a man.
Yes.
Maybe I should just make a list.
Let's start with the stones.
Fine.
While they're having this weird conversation, Sashi will get the rope ready as they traverse up the hill.
No problem. By the time they've finished having their odd conversation, you've got the rope ready.
The big question is who should take the spyglass?
Well, us on the other side, of course.
But there could be something interesting written on the stone or something.
Yes, I will hold it for you, and you will look through it. So if you go, you disappear, I will still be holding the spyglass.
But you can only do that if you are also very close.
No. John, is this like a primitive binoculars where it's basically just a piece of leather with two lenses?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so we can just open it and take out the lenses.
I'm pretty sure it's not that easy, because if you put it badly back together, then you won't see anything through it. It's not that easy. I mean, I'm pretty sure you would destroy it with that.
Okay, well, so take a look at it. Does it seem like it has complicated mechanisms?
It certainly looks as though it's been put together very precisely. You're not entirely sure you'd be able to reassemble it 100% correctly.
The distances between the lands is pretty substantial. You
Do you still have
you
some
can't
of
see anything.
those small gemstones you picked up?
Gemstones?
Yeah, didn't he pick out some gemstones somewhere?
No, gold nuggets.
Ah, gold nuggets, okay. Yeah, we can't see through though.
I believe you did have some of the elf stones from the temple, though.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought they were glowing.
They did have a slight glow to them, however, they can still technically be seen through.
I'm gonna
Double
assume
shot?
we didn't bring them here.
Why not?
I don't know.
I would have brought one or two of them just in case. These things are magical and we go into a magical place. Would make sense.
But that's fine. If you want to have done, you can do.
Okay, if we have them, they're gonna go up, and as they get closer, we'll try to take one of the stones and see if that does the trick as the spyglass does.
Okay, you head closer to the stones, and as you get nearer, Sasha, you lift one of these green gemstones up to your eyes, and you close one eye and peer through it. And as you look through the stone, you can indeed see there are 8 standing stones.
Oh, it gives out a little gas. It works. Great.
So I suggest you take the spyglass because I want to go near it, and I just take one of the elf stones.
Sure. So we'll give you that one of the elf stones and put the rope around you. Kind of make a loose noose and fasten it.
I will tell you if something weird happens and walk slowly towards it.
And you will hold the rope while looking through the spyglass.
Okay, that's absolutely fine.
I would suggest that I hold the rope so that you can focus on the glass.
Sure. So we'll give him the rope.
Yeah.
Okay, so you head into the centre of this henge, William. As you get into the middle of it, you start to feel an odd sensation of coldness as you walk into the middle of these stones. It feels distinctly chilly in here, and the centre of the circle of stones almost appears to be darker than the surrounding areas, despite the fact that the sun is shining overhead.
It is very cold in here, and there's a dark spot in the middle. I would just look through the elf stone at this place. Maybe there's something interesting.
Okay, as you look through the elf stone, you can see that the darkness in the centre of the henge is more pronounced when viewed through a lens. It's almost as though a tear in the sort of mid-air is forming, and it's slowly getting wider and wider. Can you please make me a save versus magic, William?
The first save, I think. Save versus magic. A 14 I got. No bonus?
Nope.
Maybe through the elf stone or something, not sure.
Nope.
Okay. Success.
Okay, as you're in the middle of this henge, and like I say, you can see, looking through the elf stone, you can see that the darkness is more pronounced. You start to get this urge to move around the henge and count and physically put your hands on the different stones. Because you've succeeded in your magic save, you're not compelled to do it, and you're aware that like this compulsion is coming from somewhere.
Okay, I would just move slowly backwards again and tell the others this fact, as I feel like something wants to force me to touch the stones.
Okay, you step backwards out of the stone circle with not a problem. As you step out of it, looking back at the centre, you can no longer see this sort of dark spot. It's as though it's only visible when you're standing in the stone circle. And as you leave the circle, the compulsion to touch the stones and to count them and to make physical contact just fades away as though it was never existed.
There's definitely magic in there. And something wants to compel me to touch the stones, and there's a dark spot in the middle, which becomes darker looking through the lenses. I can't see it when I go out, so I suppose this is some kind of a portal in the middle? I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, we've done what we were hired to do.
Maybe... So we just go back and tell him that there's a dark spot in the middle and everything?
Well, he wanted us to see it for ourselves, probably because if he told us, we wouldn't believe him. So once we have seen this, I'm gonna guess he's gonna tell us that he saw this too, and he wants us to do something more with it.
So we just head back and come back to this exact place again? Couldn't you... I would just go near her and whisper, couldn't you do the same thing you did to my armor? Looking at it, I whisper to her.
Yeah, I could. But, I mean, it's clearly magical.
Maybe you see something more.
How obvious is it that you're casting a spell, John?
It's fairly obvious, to be honest. Pretty obvious.
Yeah. She kind of peers back at Jasper and Barton, and yeah, I don't think that's a good idea here.
Maybe you can use it and somewhere else and then come back? Does hold a while?
But it's clearly magical.
Yeah, but I'm curious.
Whilst all this is going on, what's Odrin doing?
He's looking around to see if there are any signs of the old ways here, like markings, or if he can figure out any sort of like ritual significance of this arrangement of stones.
It looks from these stones that there might have once been inscriptions on them, but they've been faded and worn away by time, to the point where they're pretty much entirely illegible.
We can spot where the missing stone is, right?
That's correct.
We figured that out, yeah. So I would approach the spot and, like, in a low voice, sing a song to Dagon.
Okay.
With the intent of trying to see if anything reacts to it.
Okay, so you're sort of standing next to the spot where the stone would be, and you're singing this song. Okay, can you make me a save versus magic, please?
Wow, I gave a -1 to this one. Yay.
-1?
Yeah, because I'm dumb.
Oh.
Wow.
No,
there's a magic save on your character sheet.
Oh, right. That,
okay.
well, looks like it doesn't apply the minus, so it's still -1 to that.
Okay, so as you're singing this song and you're sort of by this spot where the missing stone is, as with William, you are suddenly filled with this intense desire and need to go round and count the stones and put your hands on each of them. And before you know what you're doing, you find you put your hand out towards where like the missing stone is, and although there's nothing there, you can actually feel as though you're touching one of these stones. And as the rest of you are watching, Odrin starts sort of moving around the stone circle, putting his hands onto each of them, and you move around Odrin sort of counting at 1, put your hand on the next one, 2, put your hand on the next one, 3, and as you make your way back round, as you say 8, and again you put your hand where the missing stone would be. As he's moving around counting, the rest of you notice that the stone that was missing starts to appear. It slowly starts to become more solid, until as he gets back round again and he says 8, there are 8 stones there now to the naked eye.
I would have stopped him before that normally.
That's absolutely fine. If you want to go up and stop him, he's moving around counting. How far do you let him get with the counting before you run around and stop him?
Roll a d8.
Yeah, the thing is, he's pretty strong, so if he forces us to... If he resists, then it's hard for us to stop him.
Okay, so as you guys realise that the other stone has started to hit, you run round. Did you say anything in particular to Odrin to stop him, or...?
Don't listen. And I would just try to hold him physically.
Does it seem like it's the usual odd behavior of Odram, or does he seem like entranced?
Yeah, he almost seems like he's in a bit of a trance, but as you and Sasha run round and you say, stop this, stop what you're doing, Odrin, you snap out of it. It wasn't like you were being forced to do something, it was just as though someone suggested something to you and it felt perfectly reasonable. And as you were going around touching these stones and you were counting them, it felt like what you were doing was good and right, and you were sort of setting something right. But as William and Sasha come round, it sort of jolts you out of this trance and you're now fully in control of yourself again.
Huh. My friends, there's something on the other side of this thin place, this holy place, and it wishes me to conduct this sequence with the stones.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do too, and I resisted.
Okay. So he kind of snaps in front of his face. Are you back now?
Back where?
Now, Will.
Since we don't know what's on the other side, I suggest we don't let it out.
Uh-huh.
Any of you who look around now will notice that since you stopped Odrin before he finished his counting, that the missing stone has once again faded away and it's no longer there.
Yeah, I stopped him at the second. I rolled it.
Mm-hmm.
He takes Odrin's hand and tries to lead him away from the hedge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we should restore this place to its former glory. I think I can make out some of the markings. With the proper tools, I could write on them again.
How sure are you that is...
Can you find out what's on the other side?
Hang on, Will. How sure are you of it's of the old people? The old faith?
It's not as if the new god does anything like this. The new god is a god of cities, not places like this.
But you don't know what's on the other side, do you?
Well, not exactly. I would imagine either some of the old folk, like Marco, or maybe...
Okay, well, we don't need more elves, she smiled. So, we've already got one. So maybe we should leave this for now. We'll go back to Lord Draco.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him what we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And we will contemplate on what to do next.
Yeah, I suggest we make some drawings about what we saw, so we can prove that we actually saw what he saw.
I'm thinking if you say you are almost compelled to go around and counting the stones, and the 8th one started to appear, that you are in a way performing some sort of ritual. But how sure are we that this ritual opens a portal? Couldn't it be unlocking a prison?
It could be a hidden temple, a long-lost treasure. Maybe this is the place where Dagon's first waters have collected. Who knows?
Well, it clearly this dark place in the middle of the circle clearly reacted to me being near it. It opened a slightly bit more, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it can't open on itself.
Okay. William said he saw
stuff like that.
he saw like a black sun, right?
Black spot. Not. It was just a bit darker, and if I looked through the Elfstone, it got even darker.
Did you see that too, Arton?
He wasn't inside the circle, was he?
No, and he didn't see that.
No, I was honoring the stones.
If I take the spyglass, John, and I look at one of the stones, does it appear to have, like, are they completely overgrown with moss and everything, or can I see some writing on them?
They appear much as they do to the naked eye. They're a little bit overgrown with moss. It looks like there might have once been markings on them, but the passage of time, wind, rain, etc., has like worn them almost smooth.
This place used to be a place of the old faith, right?
Most definitely, yes. I cannot tell you which old god they worshipped here and which spirit this is sacred to because the markings have faded.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. We just walk back, and maybe the Lord knows something more than we do. He certainly has more resources, and maybe he already talked to some sages or something.
I agree. We should go back and see what he wants to talk about, and we can take that into account.
But we should make some drawings just in case he doesn't believe us that we actually went here.
Is it still raining, John?
It is indeed.
Can't make drawings as long as it rains like this.
Could make a tent or something, or use some kind of protection from the rain. Doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to have proof, that's all.
Okay, so we'll go... My paper's all the way back in the card, so... I'm pretty sure if we come and we tell him that, that will be proof enough. I'm pretty sure that's what he wanted us to see, since he specifically mentioned using a lens to view it.
I just don't want to have walked here for nothing, that's all.
Okay, I'll tell you. I remember how it looks, and once we get on dry land again, I'll make a drawing.
Okay. Let's just head back.
Okay, so you guys head back to the cart. Obviously, you're going to have to make camp before you head back to Porthcrawl, so I can ask you all to cross off another ration from your list.
Yes.
I would just suggest that Barden doesn't take a watch this time.
Okay,
I don't trust him anymore.
Okay, so you all settle down to sleep, taking various watches for the evening.
You don't trust him. He can't. I mean, it's not his blame that he failed to save.
I still don't trust him.
Damn you! In this group, we don't fail our saving throws.
Yeah, we never fail or die.
My character doesn't know what he did.
You're
Maybe
out.
he's possessed or something. I'm just that's all.
Okay, so you all settle down for the evening. However, Odrin, your sleep is far from untroubled. As you sleep, you dream, and you once more find yourself stood back in the stone circle that you visited the previous day. Looking at it through the naked eye, you can see that there are 7 of these stones. However, in your dream, you are stood in the centre of this stone circle, and you can see this darkness that William spoke of, this hole in the air, and it's getting larger and larger. You can feel as though something is pressing on the skin of this world, attempting to force itself through. And somehow in your mind you know that the only thing keeping it back is the 8 stones of this circle. And then you look around and in panic realise there's only 7 of them. And as you realise that, this hole in the air tears open, and you see what appears to be a large figure that looks vaguely like a man, but it seems to be made entirely out of parchment covered in strange runes and signs that hurt your eyes when you look at them. And as it walks towards you, raising almost like a mummy made out of these parchments, it raises its hands. You can see the ruin of this world written on its skin, and as it reaches out towards you, you hear this screaming in the distance as though someone in great pain. And it's only as you jerk awake to find everyone else in the camp already awake and look at you that you realise it must have been yourself screaming in the throes of your nightmare.
I probably still hazy from my dream. I grab my fish head cudgel, and Jasper is still with us, right?
Indeed, everyone else in the camp has been woken up. As far as the rest of you are concerned, you've run over, having heard this screaming, to see Odrin thrashing about in his sleep, apparently having some horrendous nightmare. Then he's woken up, sort of looking a bit fuzzy-headed, and grabbed this cudgel.
And in Odrin's eyes, the fading figure of this parchment creature overlays with Jasper, and I smack him, not with like a proper attack, but I smack him to bat him away.
Okay, make me an attack roll. Obviously, I know you're not trying to kill him,
and I scramble to my feet.
Okay, make me an attack roll. Obviously, I know you're not trying to kill him, but Jasper is a fairly feeble old man, and you're like some giant Conan dude.
Well,
okay, luckily, given the fact that you are dazed and you're still sort of shaking off the after image of this horrible nightmare you've had, you swing out clumsily, but Jasper jumps backwards out of the way of your cudgel, and he's like, "Hey, watch out!" And then as you sort of shake your head clear, you see it's not actually this scroll-laden figure, it's actually Jasper, who's obviously coming across to shake you and go, "Oh, you're right, mate." And then you've just been like, "Rah!" and try to club him.
Sasha jumps in. She's been quite shocked seeing the big guy scream out. That she didn't expect him to ever scream out. And she jumps in. No! It's you're back. It's cool. It's us.
I frantically look around, trying to figure out where I am. And once I realize that, like Sasha and everyone else is here, I grab Sasha by the shoulder and I say, "It's the stones. They are holding something back. It's not one of the old ones. It's monstrous."
I stretched my crossbow and pointed at him. Take your hands from her.
It's cool, Will. It's cool. So she puts her hand on Ogden's chest. Okay. Just calm down. We'll leave this desolated place. We'll go back to Port Crawl. We'll all have a nice hot meal, some nice brandy to drink, and we'll go report to the Lord, and then we'll take it from there. Okay,
No. There must be 8 stones. The eight stones hold back the monstrous thing, and there's only 7 right now. Isn't there? I look to everyone for confirmation that we agree that we only see 7 stones, or that we saw 7 stones.
Yes.
Unless we saw through the lenses, yes. What
I
did you
must go
see?
back. I must go back. There must be 8 stones. The 8 stones are the key. They hold back whatever is to be held back, and there's only 7.
So what you're saying is that the 8th stone is on the other side, and we have to go in there and bring it out on this side?
How? What did you see? What was on the other side?
Something that will destroy the world.
That's not that easy as you think.
It's not. It's not what I think.
Oh my God, Will. She looks at him.
I scramble up. I let go of Sasha, and I start like grabbing my shit, and it looks like I'm about to go back there.
Okay, no problems.
Isn't it better to wait? I mean, we could get paid for this.
What use is coin if everything burns and is destroyed?
That's a fair point.
William doesn't look too happy. He would follow him.
Okay, well, we're gonna try to be smart about it, Ogren, and she grabs her stuff and an extra backpack and runs after him.
Okay, so you all make your way back to the stone circle. It looks much as you remember it previously. 7 stones in a rough circle and a space for an 8th.
Okay, she puts down the backpack. Okay, chill. Okay, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna take a look at this place. Okay?
Fine. I will pray to Dagon.
Yeah. Don't you still have some tobacco? So smoke a nice pipe.
Yes.
I will stay near Sasha.
Okay.
Just
She'll
in case.
take the rope, John. Tie it around herself. Give the
Okay.
other end to Will.
I will just bind it to myself.
And she'll find the gap where the 8th stone is supposed to be.
Okay.
And she will sigh and begin to cast Detect Magic.
Okay, not a problem. You start to cast Detect Magic. Okay, as you stare at the circle, weaving your arcane gestures to detect everything that's magic, you're not surprised when this stone circle registers as very magical.
Yeah.
As you're looking through your detect magic spell, you realise that even though you're looking with your naked eye, technically, you can now see the 8th stone. You can also see this black, small sort of black space twisting in the middle of the stone circle, as though the air was somehow being sort of ripped into, and a hole was forming in midair.
Oh, okay. If she looks at the gap, and she'll get down on her knees and try to, like, on the other side, on our side, not on the inside of the circle, but on the outside of the circle, dig down and see if she can, like, if there's a indentation where like these stones have to go deep down in the ground.
Indeed, as you look around at the stones, you can see that there must be like a couple of feet worth of like stones sunk into the ground. They all have sort of like depressions where they've been sunk in.
And what? How does it appear on like the gap where the 8th stone should be?
Where the 8th stone
down there.
Well, at the minute you can see the 8th stone with your detect magic spell. So as you're looking at it, it looks just like the others. It looks as though it's sunk into the ground. However, you remember when you looked at it previously without the benefit of your spell, that it just looked like there was a shallow depression, as though there was no stone there.
Okay. I can see the stone, William. As I expected, it's very magical.
But nothing else, nothing unusual.
No, there's an unformed shape in the middle of the circle.
I still don't know, I just don't want it to be something that doesn't want me here, that's all.
At this point, Sasha, can you please make me a save versus magic?
Yeah. Is that spells? Or...
No, that
that's
on your character sheet there's a saves.
Yes, I have it.
Ooh, a 20.
Okay, you also feel the urge to start to enter the circle and
No. She succeeded.
Yeah. Bear with me for a second.
Oh, sorry.
You also feel the urge to go into the stone circle and start to count the stones. However, because you've succeeded at your save, you know that this urge is coming from somewhere else, and you're not forced to obey it. You're just aware of it.
Okay, so she knows it's an effect, not something she wants to do.
Indeed, it feels to you, with your greater knowledge of the arcane and your knowledge of magic, it feels to you as though almost like some sort of enchantment has been like woven into these stones that produces this effect, where like anyone sort of entering or getting very close to the stones gets this compulsion where they want to go around and like count the stones.
I feel it pulling at me, Willie.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Should I slap you or something?
No, it's cool. I'm gonna try to touch the stone, see what happens. So be ready.
Okay, I raise my crossbow.
She reaches out with her left hand and just gently touches the edge of the stone, the 8th stone, John.
Okay, which of the stones are you touching?
The 8th.
The 8th. Okay, splendid. As you touch the stone, it feels entirely solid to your touch, and to anyone else who's watching, as Sasha touches it, you can actually see like a vague, hazy outline of this 8th stone, as though Sasha merely touching it has made it more solid.
Since this stone hasn't been out in the weather, does it appear more pristine?
It does indeed.
Does it have markings on it?
Yes, it does. If you wish, you can make me a d6 roll. You'll need a 1 to see if you can understand it.
Yeah. Okay. Almost.
I would try it too. Maybe I can understand it.
Okay, yeah, anyone who wants to see if they can understand this can make a d6 roll. It's obviously a languages skill check.
It appears to be demonic.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Dennis, but yes, as you're looking at it, William, you can actually see that this is an ancient form of demonic runes that have been inscribed on it. They were probably on all the stones, but obviously wet time and weather has worn away the others. However, on this one, you can see that it's not an exact translation, but you can see that this stone appears to be some sort of key or some sort of locking mechanism, that it's sort of like the linchpin that's part of this whole design. These stones have been put here to contain something, and the 8th stone is like the linchpin, like the centre point of it.
So if it's gone, then everything else crumbles.
That's certainly a valid interpretation.
Is this something that is from Karnak, or can I make out who made this?
The demonic runes certainly have a lot in common with the writings of Karnak. You expect that you think this has been made to seal in some sort of greater power that, if not directly from Karnak, is certainly of a similar order to Karnak.
I'm almost feel compelled to free this thing. But if it's not from Karnak, then it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad if it's from Karnak too, so... I tell the others what I learned from the writings, aside from that it's maybe from Karnak. That I will not tell anyone.
Well, feel free to tell them whatever you see fit.
It seems like what our friend saw in his dream is true. If we don't activate the A stone, then this whole magic construction will cease to exist, and whatever's trapped in there will be free.
Okay. Suggest we just leave it then.
The thing is, it seems like that the 8 stone is somehow disappearing? And maybe it would make sense. Let's just think about it. Maybe this spell needs some kind of refreshment from time to time. Maybe some kind of ritual or whatever to keep the thing trapped inside. And if there's no one around to do it, then they just wove a spell into it that forces everyone who comes close to just perform the ritual and trap it for some more time.
I guess we'll have to determine whether or not we trust the counting charm.
It could also be that it's a trap and it's a trick from whatever's inside to get free.
I think it's more a trick. Like over time, whatever's trapped behind has somehow weakened the seal. But that's why the 8th stone is fading. But without more knowledge and without the specific ritual, I don't think it would be good to mess with it.
The thing is, if we don't do something, then this will break free, and we don't know when.
And I presume, John, that I would have no idea what's going on here.
It's certainly not something that you have any degree of knowledge of now.
With the detect magic, can you like see the pattern so you can kind of determine if indeed this is a lock, and we need the 8 stone, or the 8 stone is what is the key? It's unlocking the lock.
Unfortunately, that's not something you could determine with detect magic. No.
No.
And I will also not tell anyone why I could read this thing.
It's probably a good idea.
No, I think we should leave it alone for now. I mean...
Well, who can we ask about this?
Well, clearly Lord Draco knows something.
Lord Draco may know something, and we also know a sage. Salazar may know something. We don't. He's not a specialist for magic, but maybe.
Well, Salazar, as he told us, was just called a sage. He's really just an alchemist.
Yeah, but maybe he collects knowledge. Maybe he heard something. We don't know.
if this stone is this close to Porthcrawl, and we have the old structure underneath the temple in Porthcrawl, would it be safer to assume that the ancient people of Porthcrawl knew about this and might have kept the knowledge there?
Could be, but what difference would this make?
The difference is if we don't know the exact ritual, we are gonna do more harm than good.
But we have no way to know the right ritual.
No, but as Ogren says, these stones are common in his land. So there has to be some sort of pattern to them, some sort of rhyme and reason, how they are constructed, what the purpose are.
Well, so you just suggest that we just leave it here and try to learn more about it first, right?
Rather than risk setting this out on the well, yes.
Fine.
I have half a mind to offer blood mixed with water to Dagon for an omen. But if you think we should consult the Lord and the sage before we do that, then
No.
What exactly is this?
What would Dagon accept?
any worthy offering.
But would like a couple of horses, would that be sufficient, or do we need to go sentient?
The horses would be more than adequate, but we need to go back somehow. I was thinking of my own.
You're gonna kill yourself?
No. It is... We come back to philosophy, Sasha. It is not the amount, but the earnestness and the intent.
That's true.
Okay, but since you're the priest, and I think I should give the blood then.
I was thinking we might wish to consult the Lord and the sage before we do that.
So you don't want to ask for omen?
Like I said, I have half a mind to do that, but...
No, I think...
The thing is, you seem to be influenced by whatever's inside there.
Well, maybe that is Dagon trying to tell him something. And we are in Dagon's holy lands, right?
We're just speculating now.
We are speculating, but if we had to reach him, this being the Thin Lands would be a good place.
This is true. Well, if you will spare me a turn or two of the glass, I will see what I can do.
Okay.
So, John.
Yes.
It's still raining, so water is easy to come by.
Yes, most definitely.
So I'm gonna... We probably have like a cup or two or a pan while we travel. So I get the pan out from our stuff, and I gather some rainwater, and I with like my eating knife or something like that, I cut the palms of my hands. I bleed into the rainwater, and I get someone else from our group to shield me a bit with like their hat or their jacket or whatever, while I get the tobacco out, so I get the smokes going.
Yep.
And I chant while sitting cross-legged on the ground and bowed over this pan of water and blood, and I smoke the tobacco, and after that's done, I hand the pipe away to someone else, and I get the green cap mushroom that I have from Salazar.
Okay.
And I take the pan in one hand, one bleeding hand, and the green cap mushroom in another, and I take a sip of the bloody water. I pop the mushroom in, and I wash it down with the rest of the blood water, and I start singing again to Dagon and asking for Dagon's guidance and for his intervention, I guess, to provide us with an omen of some sort to save these lands that are threatened by something that wishes him harm.
Okay, to the rest of you who are watching this, you see your friend Odrin go through all these preparations. Then his head slumps on his chest as though he has fallen into a deep sleep. To you, Odrin, as the effect of these hallucinogenic mushrooms take hold, you find yourself hanging in what appears to be a lightless void. You can't tell whether you're just hanging in space, but there's an odd sort of viscosity to the blackness around you, as though you were submerged in liquid. There are occasional flickers of light in the blackness, and they appear to form the shape of these strange runes that you are not familiar with. And somewhere nearby you can hear a scratching sound, as though hundreds of people were writing the doom of the world with quills upon ancient parchments. And then you see a vision of what you think to be your world. You're not sure how much time has passed, but you can see desolation all around you. It takes you a few moments to realise that you're walking through Porthcrawl, but all of the buildings have been levelled and reduced to little more than rubble. Everywhere you look, you can see people shuffling around, but they have a vacant, soulless expression on their face, and each of them is wrapped in what appears to be a long strand of parchment with these strange runes on them, and they all shuffle around as though all the life and the vitality had been somehow sucked out of them, as though they were bound by these scrolls wrapped around their physical forms. And then you wake up. And at this point, I'm going to ask you to please roll me a d10.
Tres.
Okay, and can you also please roll me a d20?
You roll 3 and the 8, just for our listeners.
Okay, so can you please roll me 2d12?
$12 and 6.
Okay, so let me just check this list here. Okay, so for the next 2d12 hours, you, as a side effect of this hallucinogenic fungus you have ingested, you will want to give away random amounts of money to strangers, as you are filled with a sense of generosity and wanting to help your fellow man in any way that you can.
All right.
So as you sort of, despite the horrendous vision you've seen, as you come out of it, you're almost more determined. You need to make a difference. You need to help your fellow man. So the rest of you, as he wakes up, he's got a big smile on his face. He looks quite happy and benevolent.
Yeah, and there's because Odin is kind of intense when he is active, and sort of determined as well. But now there's a sharpness to his determination. He's not as wild and perhaps like manic as he usually is. And he blinks. Sorry?
Good news?
As you sort of look around smiling, Jasper, you hear Jasper whisper, he's not going to try and hit me with that club again, is he?
No, Jasper, here. Have a coin as an apology. and I reach out with a silver coin.
He takes the silver shilling off you and he says, "Oh, well, that's a." He seems a bit unsure at first, but as he takes the coin and realises you're not going to clock him again, he smiles and he says, "Oh, that's mighty generous of you. Oh, thanks very much."
My friends, the Lord of Waters has shown me Porthcrawl with the buildings destroyed and the people drained of the vitality that the Lord of Water gives all living things, and they were as if they were bound as if by chains of parchment into a sort of false life. There was nothing in their eyes at all. And I heard 1,000 scribes scratching blasphemies on parchment.
Does this sound familiar?
It does indeed.
I'll send you a private message, 1 second.
Sasha looks at Ogren with kind of a lowering look in her eyes. But you okay?
More than okay. I must remember to pay the sage for the green cap, and perhaps buy some more.
Yes.
Is there anything that you would want?
I would like to go back to Porthcrawl.
I don't think there is much more than I can do here. Right now, I believe the Lord of Waters wants me in Porthcrawl. This must be what the sign was trying to show me.
She nods.
William does look a bit shocked. I think I just checked the immediate surrounding. I think I heard something. And would try to walk a few steps away and try to hide.
Yep. Audrin is paying him no mind. He's still kind of fucked up and like floaty.
Yeah, Sasha will take some clean water and some cloth and kind of wash the wounds he has in his hands and bandage them up.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, yes, so since they're engaged in that, William, you have no trouble slipping away and sort of secreting yourself.
Okay. I would try to sneak to the circle.
There's no way we notice him when he's sneaking anyway, so...
That's fine, William. You have no problem sneaking back to the Circle of Stones.
He would just look at it and look at the middle part and think about what Audrin said and take out one of his ropes and try to find something to tie himself to. I'm just telling you my intent and you say me if it's impossible. I would just try to make it so that if I am influenced by whatever is in there, I am not able to touch all of the 8 stones because I'm bound to something.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Okay. I would do that and slowly walk inside the circle and as close to the dark's place as I possibly can.
Okay, not a problem. Make me a save versus magic.
I failed.
Okay, so you are filled with this compulsion to to start counting the stones and touching them, but thanks to you binding yourself earlier on, you're not able to do so. And a few minutes afterwards, as you sort of like struggling to count these stones but not being able to, the compulsion starts to subside a little bit and you're able to regain control of yourself.
I would start to speak in this watery, bubbling voice in my old tongue and try to speak to the place in the middle of the stones.
Okay, what do you say?
I'm here. I'm Atramos, humble servant of Karnak. I'm here trapped in this world. What do you want me to do?
You don't hear any response, but and after a few minutes you don't think you're going to get a response. But as you're just sort of like starting to step back, maybe thinking about leaving, you look down at the sort of the scrub-like vegetation, the sort of the small bushes, the sort of dead vegetation that's in the centre of this stone circle. And as you look down at it, you can see that the way the leaves have twisted, they appear to spell out words in these demonic runes, and it simply says, "The Lord of Words."
Do I know what this means?
You would know that the Lord of Words is an incredibly powerful demon of Karnak. I suppose the nearest thing I could describe him as was if you think of like your average demon of Karnak, not terribly pleasant, but your average demon of Karnak, he'd be what other demons might refer to as an extremist.
So I'm pretty sure I know what would happen if this guy would find me. I would simply try to kill me to get favor from Karnak, and that's it.
That's probably likely, or as based on the vision that Odran saw, quite likely he might try and sort of drain your free will in the same way as Odran was describing that the people of Porthcrawl in his visions have been drained of their will.
I just spit at the writing that came up. You will stay here. We will not get the favor of Karnak, not while I am alive. And I would walk out and try to free myself again and walk back.
Yeah, no problems. You return to the others.
I look very, very much in my thoughts, but I'm also looking a bit angry. Found nothing. Let's go.
Okay, so what's the plan, guys?
They will pack the cart, go out of this moor, and head back to Porthcrawl.
Okay, not a problem. You start heading back to Porthcrawl. When you sleep on your journey, both Odran and Sasha, you are both troubled by these horrendous nightmares that are similar to the one that Odran had previously. You see this tall, almost mummified creature. It must be about sort of 8 foot tall. Its whole body wrapped with these parchments, with these strange sigils written on them that almost seem to burn your eyes when you look at them. Each time you have this dream, it's in some place that you're aware of or that you visited previously in your life. However, when you see it in your dream, it is entirely decimated, and the wills of those who live there seem to have been entirely subjugated by this creature, whatever it is. Each of you have this dream whenever you sleep, and you find your rest extremely troubled. In fact, the first night when you sleep, both Odran and Sasha both wake up screaming sort of at the same time, and you have that moment where you both look at each other as that your screams die away, and as you look at each other you can both tell that you've been dreaming about the same thing.
Do I not have these streams?
No, you don't.
Okay. I will pretend I have.
Absolutely fine. So, on this night when you both wake up screaming, Audrey and Sasha, and you as well, William, you look at each other. You're all pretty much aware that you've probably had the same dream. What do you do about it? If anything, do you talk about it?
Sasha will probably just look at Ogren and recognize the same terror in his eyes as is in her own. She'll compose herself and think back of the desolation of her uncle's keep and find some solace in that.
Audrey is going to go to Sasha and hug her, reassuringly, and mutter something about not letting anything happen, and that the Lord of Waters is much stronger than whatever this feeble pen creature is.
I'm guessing, John, some of the visions would correspond with what stories William have told her about where he's from and all that.
And yes, William did tell her.
In which case, yes, they most definitely will.
And you also seem to recognize that William seems to know more than he says.
Well, she'll return the hug to Hokram, and as they release, and she will look over across the glimmering light from the fire to William, and kind of shakes her head and she will look to Barden and Jasper. They don't seem to be affected.
They don't seem to have been having the dreams themselves. You see Barden looks he's looking at you, Sasha. He looks extremely concerned. You can see that Jasper's keeping like a wary half an eye on Audrey. Are you alright, Miss Sasha, says Barden.
Yeah, just a bad dream.
I will look up to Sasha.
I think we've seen too much playing tricks with our minds.
Jasper pours some herbal tea out of the old metal teapot he's got nestled in the ashes of the fire, and he passes some in like a mug over to Audrey, Sasha, and yourself, William, and he says, "Well, get a bit of this down you. This should help you sleep a little bit."
So she'll drink it greedily. Am I to understand on the sound effects, John, that it's still raining?
Indeed.
Praise Dagon. As long as there is rain, Dagon is with us. In force.
Faster ways to drown.
Well, we do not wish to go to Dagon right now.
Not yet.
Yep, I enjoy the tea, and this was like in the middle of the night, right? So we would continue to sleep probably.
Yep.
Or try to.
Yeah, you do get back to sleep, and you do have some horrible dreams, but none of them are quite as horrible as the one that woke you up previously, and you manage to actually get some sleep. You all wake up in the morning, and you continue your journey back to Porthcroft. As you start getting towards the outskirts of Porthcroft, Jasper will say, "Well, if you don't need me any longer, I've got stuff to do back at home, and well, I've seen you safely through Dertmoor. So if there's nothing else you need, I'll be heading back to my home, if that's all right."
Yeah. Would it be okay if we're going out again that we'll call upon you again?
Yeah. I'm at home most times. if I'm not, I normally come back each evening. If I'm out, I'll just be out hunting down gloom bugs. So you're welcome to wait. But yeah, if you need me again, and you're more than welcome. And he sort of like looks down at the pouch of coins that you've given him. More than welcome.
And please don't tell anybody about the circle, just in case.
He's like, look, to be honest, I don't really understand what's going on with it. And who am I going to tell? I live out here in the middle of nowhere. I only really go into Porthcrow when I want to buy some things. And, well, I ain't interested in telling anyone any stories. So you've paid me well for it. I'll keep my mouth shut.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, friend. Thank you for the tea. And I hand him 5 silver.
He takes the 5 silver off you, and he's like, thanks, sir. Well, you'll not be taking care now. Like I say, if you need any more guiding through the moors, you know where I am. And he trots off to his small shack and leaves you to continue on towards Porthcrow. You eventually see the outskirts of the small town of Porthcrow as you start approaching it.
William seems uncertain of what to do all the time. Just looking sternly forward and in thought all the time.
Yeah, Sasha doesn't say much. He's just more or less slumped over the horse. Feeling miserable. Tired. Shocked. Drenched. Cold.
I would have a couple more minutes, but not sure if we can do something with this time.
Well, what my thoughts were with if you were going to go and visit the Lord, we'd do that and then we'd wrap up the session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so is that what you guys are doing? Are you going straight to the Lord, or are you doing anything else first?
No.
Probably the Lord, I guess. I don't think we have any extra items on the list.
Yep. Just go there.
Sassy will just follow them. She doesn't want to go up there now. But
okay, that's absolutely fine. So you head up to the house of Lord Drago Harper on the hill overlooking the town. You can see Captain McCormack and his guards stood outside guarding the sort of wooden fence around this noble's house. Obviously he recognises you as he sees you approaching, and he's like, "Ho there, what news?"
Hello. We are working for the Lord. We come bearing news.
Yes, of course. I recognise you from the last time. My lordship did leave instructions for you to be shown back into his presence if you returned here. But please follow me.
Yep, I do. I presume we all do.
Yeah.
as they walk in, Sasha is complaining about these were new boots and now they're ruined too, and she'll do that as they walk into the manor house.
Okay, you're led by Captain McCormack through this large manor house to the same sort of dining room / meeting room that you were in previously. You can see Lord Drago Harper sat at this large wooden table, although he looks a little bit better than when you last saw him, Lord Harper. He's still an old man looking quite sort of thin and feeble, but he seems to be more aware of his surroundings, and he looks a little bit less sickly than when you last saw him. He looks up as you come in, his grey hair falling away from his face, and he says, good, my friends, please sit down. And he gestures at the chairs around the table.
Sasha slumps down in one of the chairs.
Yeah. William too.
So, my friends, tell me, how are you progressing with the task that I set you?
takes off the tricon hat and puts it on the table with some water running out from the edges of it. Well, we went to the stones as requested, looked at the stones through a lens, and saw what I assume you wanted us to see.
He leans forward a little bit and goes, "Tell me, what did you see?"
An 8 stone.
As you say that, he lets out an audible sigh, and he slumps back in his seat and he says, "Oh, good, then it was real, and I've not completely taken leave of my senses."
There's also a dark place in the middle of the circle.
He looks at you and nods and then says, "I told you when last we met that I was not always the feeble excuse for a man you see in front of you now. And when I first moved here, I was enamoured of the sights, the countryside, the ancient ruins. Always been something of a hobby of mine. And I came across the circle whilst I was exploring the moorlands, and I walked into the centre of them, and before I knew what was happening, I was filled with this fearful urge to count all of the stones, and I did. I moved around the stones, touching them in turn and counting each one. And although I knew I had only seen 7 of them, when I finished counting, there was an 8th stone there, and for a while I felt well. I felt good, as though everything had been set right in the world. But as the phases of the moon turned, I started to feel uneasy and have these horrible dreams. And eventually I was almost compelled to go back to the circle and count the stones again. And once I'd done so again, I felt well. But now I've once again started to feel a sickness and a desire to return to the stones. But each time I do, I seem to leave a little bit of myself behind there, and I get weaker and more feeble until I am as you see me now.
So, did you try to find out what happened?
Yes, of course I did. But the stones are incredibly ancient, and no one around here seems to know anything about them. Everyone I spoke to simply said they had been there for as long as they could remember. I even sent away some of my more trusted men to some of the great cities, including Great London, to see if they could find anything about it. But alas, all of my searching was for naught. But I know one thing, that although I cannot keep going back to those stones and letting them weaken me, but someone must count those stones. I've seen in my dreams what happens if they are not counted, and that is a price too high to pay.
What worth would you put on if I tell you what these runes mean?
I'm a wealthy man. If you could free me somehow of this damn compulsion to count these stones, I would be very grateful indeed.
So you say you did never have the idea of using someone else to do it?
No, I don't know what you must think of me. I'm sure with me being a lord and with things being as they are with the war, you can't have a very high opinion of me. But know that I wouldn't sacrifice another person I would hope I'm not so far gone that I would throw another person into the fire in my place. I simply wish to be free of this damnable compulsion.
Maybe we come back to you.
I don't think we can break the curse just now.
You see Lord Harper's shoulders like slump, and he sort of, as though like the strength has gone out of him.
One clue we could look into with your blessing.
What is it?
You see, under you heard of Edwin Locke, of course.
I believe I have heard the name mentioned a couple of times.
And under his leadership, he gave his life in the defense of Salazar's tower.
Yes, of course, the poor fellow who perished during the burning of the tower. Now I remember. Forgive me, my memory is not what it was.
He was the captain of our venturing company, which of course is a great loss to us. But in his investigations, he came across well, to make a long story short, he found out that there was what you would underground dwellings, structures underneath the Church of Peaceful Repose. And
underneath the church, you say?
yes. And we do believe, or he believed, that they would be connected to the history of this place. And seeing these ancient stones.
Tell me, does this have anything to do with the letter you sent me? And he sort of like clicks his fingers, and you see Captain McCormack steps forward, takes out a folded up piece of parchment from his belt, and hands it to Lord Harper. He opens it out on the table in front of him, and you recognise your own letter that you sent to him previously.
It may well be connected, my lord. But with your permission, we would like to investigate the structures underneath the church.
Of course. Normally, I think the local priest would have some words to say about that, and I would not care to interfere with the clergy. But since the church has not seen fit yet to send us as a replacement for the dearly departed Father York, I don't believe it will be a problem. Assuming I can rely on you to keep your investigations discreet, I wouldn't want to rile up the townsfolk.
No, of course.
Well, then, you have my blessing to conduct your investigations.
Well, thank you, and he gives a little flourish. We will do that with haste.
I believe we still need a reward.
A faint twist of a smile curls Lord Harper's face. He clicks his fingers and he gestures to Captain McCormack and says, Captain, pay these people the 150 shillings that I promised them. At which point Captain McCormack nods. He heads into another room, comes back in, and he doesn't seem too happy about it, Captain McCormack, but nevertheless he's been ordered, so he dumps this pouch, this quite a large pouch with a satisfying chink on the table in front of you.
Does that mean that's an additional 150?
I promise you that I would pay you if you went to the stones and returned, and let me explain. We can discuss further payment when and if you achieve any results from your further investigations.
Yeah, I'm asking you, John. But I understood that he gave us 150 up front.
Yeah, he's giving you another 150.
Okay, thanks. I'll make a note.
Would it be okay if we ended here?
Yeah, that is absolutely fine. So I assume that you guys sort of like make your excuses and you leave. You've got your permission to investigate the church and the catacombs.
And that's how you get a lord permission to loot his temple.
Indeed.
Well, you maybe you could have gotten a bit more than that, but yeah.
Oh, you mean trick him into paying us to loot his temple?
Exactly.
Okay, you guys have 200 XP to split between you.
Well, that's 200 choose 3 divided by 3.
I guess we could like give William 10, and we could divide the rest because he doesn't need that much XP.
No, because it's 666 otherwise.
Oh, okay, we'll take 666.
Okay, so thank you all for playing this session, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yep.
Excellent. In which case, I'm going to end the recording here.